Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through some really fascinating sources here, looking for insights just for you. And today, well, we're diving into a topic that, yeah, it might seem specific, golf. But the wisdom in it, I promise, it's universal. We're talking about the mental game in golf, which can be, let's face it, pretty maddening sometimes. I mean, think about it. In a lot of sports, the top players, they win, like almost all the time. But golf, even the absolute best players spend, well, a huge amount of time just recovering from bad shots or tough spots.
Oh.
Why is that? It seems like the real opponent often isn't the course or maybe even the other players.
Yeah,
It's yourself, right? Your own way. So mental toughness, it's not just a bonus. It's sort of the bedrock for playing consistently well.
That's absolutely true. Golf really does, maybe more than other sports, just lay bare how our minds work, or sometimes how they work against us. You know, unlike sports where you're constantly moving, reacting, golf has these pauses, long ones sometimes. And it's right there in those gaps that the inner critic, the doubt, the worry about the next hole, it all just bubbles up. So yeah, it's way more than physical skill. It's about managing that internal chatter.
You really hit the nail on the head there. So, okay, for this deep dive, our mission is exploring exactly that. Winning the mental game, how to talk to yourself on and off the golf course. We're going to try and unpack how we can understand and then consciously, change that inner dialogue. We've got insights from neuroscience, from cognitive behavior therapy, and from elite athletes too, looking at their peak performance mindsets. The goal really is to help you master your mind for peak performance, whether that's like facing a tricky putt or just dealing with a stressful day at work. But I think the core question, the thing driving us today is this: how do we actually shift from that really harsh self-criticism to, well, effective self-coaching?
That's such a critical question because that internal conversation, our self-talk, it's happening all the time. And its quality, whether it's helpful or just tearing us down, has this huge, often kind of invisible impact on how we perform under pressure. Any pressure, really, not just on the course.
Okay, let's start with something I found really eye-opening from the sources. They call it the critical window. Think about that time between golf shots. It's maybe, 5 to 10 minutes? The sources suggest this period, this window, is often more damaging to your game than an actual bad swing. And I have to say, having spent way too much time myself stewing over a terrible shot, that really hit home.
It's a really sharp observation. And the danger they point out in that window, it isn't physical. It's all mental. The big trap they highlight is thinking ahead. You know that feeling. Your mind races, okay, if I can just birdie 16, then par 17 and 18.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I could finally break 80, or whatever the goal is.
Exactly. That kind of future tripping just yanks your focus completely away from the present moment. And the thing about golf, unlike, say, basketball or tennis, where it's continuous action, is that it absolutely fundamentally demands you play one shot at a time. You have to be right here, right now.
Absolutely. That sort of anticipation, that mental jump ahead, it's just pure distraction. It kills the focus you need for this shot.
Yeah.
Our sources say that real mastery in golf comes down to clearing the mental slate between shots. They even call it a kind of meditation emotion, which sounds nice, but what it means is focusing only on the task at hand. Not the score, not the next hole, not what anyone thinks, just this shot right now.
And it's fascinating, isn't it? Because that tendency to predict, to try and control the future, it feels so baked into us as humans. But in these situations that need precise, singular focus, that exact tendency just backfires. So the skill of consciously pulling yourself back to the present, even just for those few minutes between shots, that's not just a golf thing, that's a huge life skill.
Yeah, it really is. And that connects perfectly to this next idea. Building mental resilience. Using routines. Now, when we hear routine, I think most of us picture physical stuff, right? Practice swings, lining up the shot.
Like the physical actions.
But the sources really stress that routines are also these powerful mental blueprints for success. It's not just how you hold the club, but really crucially, it's how you think before and also after you hit the ball.
That's such an important distinction. Let's take the pre-shot routine. It's not only about the waggles or the practice swings. It actually starts broader, right? Assessing the distance, the lie, the wind, basic stuff. But then it narrows down, and this is the key part, according to the sources. It narrows to a really vivid image of the ball flight you want. And what they underline is crucial. No technical swing thoughts, just feel and target.
No technical thoughts. That's interesting. Why is that so important?
Well, the sources connect this directly to neuroscience. See, when a movement like a golf swing becomes really well learned, it shifts in the brain. It moves away from the conscious, analytical parts
like when you first learned.
Exactly. And it moves towards more automatic, sort of intuitive pathways. When you start consciously thinking, okay, keep my elbow in or shift my weight, you're forcing your brain back into that analytical mode. And that disrupts the smooth, effortless, automatic flow that elite athletes have. It's really about trusting the skill your subconscious already holds.
Wow, okay. That explanation, that why behind it, makes a ton of sense.
Mhm.
It's about letting go, trusting your body knows what to do instead of micromanaging it. And it's not just before the shot, is it? There's this vital post-shot routine, too. Doesn't matter if you hit a great shot or, a total duff. The mental process has to shift immediately. It's about recovery, not regret. Our sources are really clear. The routine has to include a definite reset. You let go of the past shot, anchor yourself back in the present moment, and then get ready, mentally and emotionally, for whatever comes next.
That's a brilliant way to put it, mental hygiene. It stops the last shot, good or bad, from messing up the next one. This reset idea, it's fundamental, not just for managing emotions, but for keeping that steady, consistent focus. And that applies anywhere you need to perform when things get tense.
So if these routines are so good, why do we get stuck in these awful mental loops, like replaying mistakes over and over? The sources dig into the neuroscience here, and they explain it really well. Our thoughts basically carve out these well-worn pathways in the brain, like grooves.
Habits.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Over time, they become automatic responses to certain triggers. These thought chains just become deeply ingrained habits.
Precisely. And the example they give is a good one. You step onto the first tee, and maybe the right side is trouble, woods, or water. And your first thought is, don't slice it into the trees.
Oh yeah, I know that thought.
Right. It's not just a random thought. It's a learned pattern, a neural pathway firing up. And what happens? Often it triggers anxiety, your muscles get tense, and then, well, you often hit a core shot that just confirms that fear. These pathways can literally become self-fulfilling prophecies. They reinforce the negative pattern.
But that's actually kind of scary, the idea that our thoughts physically shape how our brain reacts. So if we want to break these automatic negative cycles, these thought habits, where do we even start?
The sources say the very first step is, maybe surprisingly, simple awareness. They call it thought tracking. It's just about consciously noticing these patterns as they pop up. Trying to understand, honestly, is my self-talk helping me or is it, actively sabotaging me?
It's absolutely the foundation. You can't change what you don't notice.
Yeah.
So once you start noticing these patterns, the big question is, okay, how do we actively change these ingrained habits? And this is where the sources bring in cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It offers some really practical tools. One of the simplest but apparently very effective ones is called thought stopping. Ah, okay, thought stopping. That sounds direct, like something you can actually do. So it involves consciously interrupting a negative thought. Like, how do you just yell stop in your head? Or
Pretty much, it could be a mental cue, like stop, or enough, or even a small physical action, like snapping your fingers gently or tapping your leg. The idea is to catch that negative spiral, maybe after a bad shot. You start thinking, I'm useless, I always mess this up. You interrupt it sharply with your cue, stop, and then immediately you follow up, maybe with some deep diaphragmatic breathing, trying to physically relax your shoulders or your grip. It's about breaking that pattern, forcibly derailing the negative thought train.
can you give a quick example, like on the course?
Sure. Okay, imagine a golfer misses a really short putt, just lips it out. The instant thought is, "Ugh, I'm such a choker, always do this on short ones." Instead of letting that spiral, they could mentally shout, stop. Take one slow, deep breath, maybe regrip the putter slightly. It's that immediate break, mental and physical, that stops the negative momentum.
Okay, I get it. But it's not about just ignoring the frustration, right? You can't just pretend it didn't happen.
Exactly. That's a key clarification the sources make. The goal isn't to suppress the emotion. You feel what you feel. Instead, it's about redirecting your focus, shifting it towards thoughts and actions that actually help your performance. So you're actively trying to replace that fear with a feeling of confidence, or maybe just competence, replacing tension with relaxation, replacing doubt with, decisive action for the next shot. It's a proactive mental and physical shift.
That redirection piece feels really important. And it makes me think about what we can learn from top athletes, not just golfers, but across all sports.
Yeah.
Our sources point out these common mental states they describe when they're performing at their absolute best. Things like being totally immersed in the present moment.
Yeah, that flow state idea.
Right. And feeling calm, confident, like the execution is almost effortless. as if they're just watching themselves do it perfectly.
Absolutely. They also talk about not being bothered by external stuff like the crowd or the score, a sense of complete ownership over what they're doing, and importantly, sticking to their routines, both mental and physical. But here's the really encouraging part. The sources really stress this. These aren't some kind of magical, innate gifts only a few people have. They are trainable skills, things anyone can work on and develop.
That's honestly so empowering to hear, that these aren't just ideals, but actual skills we can build. So for someone listening wanting to start building that mental muscle, what's the first exercise? What do the sources suggest is the first thing to practice?
Well, the very first step, according to our sources, is simply learning to notice when your mind starts to wander off task. Is it drifting towards worry, towards frustration about the past, or, as we talked about, jumping ahead to future possibilities? Just noticing that drift without judgment is step one. Then, the next step is to consciously and gently guide your attention back.
Yep.
Back to the present moment, back to the task at hand. Think about a top tennis player after a double fault. They might briefly look down, adjust their strings, take a breath.
Blue setting.
Exactly. Resetting their focus entirely onto the next point, not dwelling on the last one. Or maybe a diver visualizing the perfect entry before they even step up, creating that mental picture. It's that constant, vigilant noticing and gentle redirecting, repeated over and over, that builds the mental strength over time.
It sounds like it requires this kind of continuous, subtle effort. Not dramatic, but consistent. And this leads us right back to our main goal today. That shift from self-criticism to self-coaching. Our internal dialogue, the sources are really emphatic about this. It's either your most powerful asset or maybe your biggest liability. Supportive self-talk, it builds confidence, reinforces those helpful routines, makes you more resilient. But critical self-talk,
Yeah.
man, it just eats away at your performance, your enjoyment, and honestly, just your general well-being.
That's such a powerful way to frame it. It really highlights the control we actually can have over our internal state. And the good news is the sources lay out a pretty practical four-step process for building this habit of self-coaching. Step one is what we just discussed. Track your thoughts. Start identifying those recurring negative themes. What are the go-to criticisms you have for yourself, especially under pressure?
Okay, track them. Then step two, once you see the patterns, is evaluate the impact. So you have to ask yourself honestly, okay, does thinking this way actually help me play better or feel better? Or does it just make things worse? It's about moving beyond just having the thought to judging its usefulness.
Precisely. Then step three, once you've identified the unhelpful thoughts, is to interrupt the negative patterns like we talked about with thoughts. Stop and use your breath. Maybe shift your posture slightly. Use that mental cue like stop or reset. Whatever works to break the spiral. It's like putting in a mental circuit breaker.
Got it. Track, evaluate, interrupt. And the final step, step four, sounds like the most constructive one. Install positive dialogue. This means consciously choosing to focus on execution, not just the outcome. So for instance, instead of that awful thought, don't screw this up, you actively reframe it. You learn to say something more like, okay, I know this shot, I've practiced it, trust the routine, focus on the target. It's about deliberately carving out those new helpful pathways in your brain.
Absolutely. And these four steps really come together when we think about handling setbacks, turning them into opportunities, maybe. Because, let's be real, things go wrong. Challenges pop up. A bad shot, an unlucky bounce, an unexpected problem at work. It's inevitable. The key isn't trying to avoid failure. It's all about how you respond when it happens.
Totally. And the sources suggest using what they call rational dialogue right after things go sideways. So instead of just reacting with anger or frustration or self-pity, you engage in this structured, purposeful internal chat. Things like, okay, breathe first, right? What's my best option from here? Stick to the plan, stick to the routine. And maybe most importantly, this next shot, this next action, it's a totally new opportunity. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's a practical framework for moving forward constructively.
And that very shift, deliberately choosing that rational, purposeful response instead of just an emotional reaction, that is what builds what the sources call the mental muscle of champions. Every single time you make that conscious choice, you're strengthening those new positive neural connections. You're building genuine mental toughness, real resilience.
So wrapping this up, what's the big picture here? What does this all mean for us when we're not on the golf course?
The really amazing insight, I think, is that these techniques we've been discussing, awareness, focus, managing emotions, intentional self-talk, They're not confined to the fairway. These are fundamental, transferable life skills.
That is so profoundly true. Think about navigating a really high-stress meeting at work, or dealing with unexpected family issues, or even just trying to stay focused and present when the world feels so distracting. The same principles apply everywhere. It boils down to noticing when your mind gets pulled off track, choosing to interrupt the negative loops, and deliberately installing more supportive, constructive internal dialogue. Yeah. Our sources leave us with this really powerful, almost simple idea. Control your thoughts, and you begin to control your life. It really drives home that mastering your inner world isn't just about, improving your golf score, although that's nice too. It's about becoming that calmer, more focused, more resilient person that your best life, and yeah, maybe your best golf game too, really demands. It's about showing up as that person consistently.
That's a truly profound thought, and it's actionable too. The challenge, really, for all of us listening is to take these skills, these trainable skills, and consciously practice them every day, to notice the drift, to interrupt the negativity, and to redirect our focus. It's definitely an ongoing practice, not a one-time fix, but the potential rewards are huge.
So as you go about your day today, maybe think about this. What's one thing, just one key idea from this deep dive that really stood out to you? What could you start applying right away? Keep that in mind next time you face a challenge, big or small. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We hope this look into the mental game helps you conquer your course, whatever that course might be.